Hello and welcome to another episode of the Silver and Black Coffee Hour, a trade deadline edition of the Silver and Black Coffee Hour with some interesting happenings in the Spurs trade world. Uh, hasn't been the most winningest week for your San Antonio Spurs, and I know that my podcast compatriots Aaron Blackerby and Zach Montana are a little bit ornery regarding some of what we've seen from the Silver and Black in the past week since we last spoke. Uh, but fellas, how are we doing outside of ornery? Aaron, what's up, man?
I just told y'all before I came on, it's just been an ornery week. So there's not really outside of ornery. I'm just there. And, a Charlotte win would have been a win at Charlotte would have been nice. A bit of a little like reprieve. Um, but we don't get all the things we want in our life. And though I think grit is a value, resiliency is just something that we develop over time. So I'm okay. How
And
are
I
you
know
doing,
Zach
Zach?
is. I know Zach's even more ornery because last week he said this has got to be a 3-0
Yeah, I
week.
did say that.
I need it to be a 3-0 week, and I said, friend, because you feel that way, it's not gonna be.
It's not even because of 3 in a week. I was stuck in my apartment for after we recorded that show. Couldn't leave for 3 days. Ice all on my stairs. Would have died walking down those things. I just might as well put on ice skates to get out of my apartment. Second off, my car radiator finito done. Need to take that to the shop. And then the Spurs lose to the Pelicans, and then they lose to the Hornets. I'm like, okay, what else you got for me?
Saying you got bigger
What else do
problems, you
you?
got
What
bigger
else is
fish to
this? What else you
fry.
got for me? Bring it. I'm still here, resilient,
Murphy's
as AB
Murphy's
said.
law for
Challenging.
Mister
I
Zach
don't know about.
Montana.
I don't know about challenging the universe already, Zach.
Yeah,
Like maybe instead pray like, yo, chill out.
I'm still here.
Like chill out.
I appreciate. Yeah,
Yeah,
resilient. We're resilient, as AB said.
yeah.
yeah. What more could the universe throw at me is a question that I have learned to keep tucked. I don't.
It
I
could throw a
don't.
lot more. Trust me.
I don't let that one fly usually. Um, but we've got a lot of Spurs to talk about today. Before we do, like, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your enemies, comment below with questions, with your trade deadline thoughts and ideas. Um, and we're gonna get into some of those uh, after the game. We've got reports that Jeremy Sohan has been given permission to look for a new home. Sohan's stand down. Uh,
Like, can we break down just that press release? The Spurs have the best way of press releases for trade demands. Like, I think that, like, earlier this week, it's like Dalton Connect demands a trade from the Lakers, and the Spurs, the way they release it, they're like, the Spurs and Jeremy Sohan's camp have discussed that it is okay for Jeremy Sohan to go and decide the best place for him as a trade destination. It's just like it's so funny, like like it's very specifically Spurs compared to the rest of the league, with the way that they like frame that. I don't know. Shout out to that.
that is, and that's per the reporting from Mark Stein, basically how he phrased it. We haven't gotten anything official from the team saying, yeah, we're shopping him, but no
He's
surprise
sitting
as he's
out.
falling out of
He's
the
sitting out every
rotation.
game now.
Yeah. He's got a severe case of might get traded itis. And before this Charlotte game today, we got an interesting piece of news for the Spurs in Harrison Barnes going to the bench for the first time since the Obama administration. It's been 775 consecutive appearances for the guy who's played 351 games in a row now that he started. And that is over. And it indicates that they are definitely moving more in a Julian Champagny direction, perhaps preparing for uh, uh, Harrison Barnesless future. But we'll get
Hold
into
on.
all of
Let's
that.
let's time out on that. But like first, I'll play Mitch Johnson. Who wants to play Harrison Barnes real quick? Let's just act out how this probably went.
Tom, you're
Zach's
acting.
pretty grumpy. I'll act. Okay, okay.
Okay.
Got it.
All right, let me put on my Mitch Johnson.
I'll pretend to be as professional as possibly.
Harrison, hey, it's great to see you today. Um, how are you doing? You've given so much to the San Antonio community. You doing good? All right.
I'm doing great, coach. I was just gonna ride the exercise bike again.
Amazing. We love that you're keeping warm. The problem is, Harrison, is your 3 point shooting is about as cold as it is outside in Charlotte right now. Um, because of that, we are gonna start you on the bench at the beginning of this game. Are you cool with that?
I'm cool with everything, coach. Nothing phases me. I'm the most mature person you could ever conceive of.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Harrison. You are truly a team player for the community of San Antonio and the San Antonio Spurs. By the way, are you going to be okay if Eric Collins calls you the Black Falcon 10 times over the next 2.5 hours on the broadcast?
Which is on my b-ball reference page, and I don't I don't know that I've ever heard it in real life, but there's also not much that I can do about it, so whatever.
And scene. Okay.
Cool.
It was definitely not, it was, it was probably like that. That's probably how the conversation went. Just nice and easy. Harrison, you haven't started a game. You've started every game for the last 10 years. And you've had an Iron Man streak of playing in every game over the last three. So I don't know. That was pretty interesting today. So
No, also interesting is the timing and his expiring contract. But we'll get to all of that when we talk about the NBA
let's
trade
just jump in
deadline.
real quick to I think the first frustrating loss of the week. Um, look, New Orleans came in. They showed a very interesting blueprint on how to beat the Spurs. Um, Specifically with pulling Wemby out onto the perimeter, and they attacked him. They got by him. There's something about the scouting report, either on the way Wimpy is turning his hips or not turning them, or being a step behind at the moment on that perimeter defense, that is concerning to me, at least. And they beat the Spurs. It was a while ago. Part of this, I was, the one that kind of did the after the game video. Look, this was the beginning of the snowstorm. I think there is just a lot, especially sometimes when you're dealing with that, and you are also having to get to the game, managing your family. Is it safe to get on the roads there? Look, tough loss. Gonna chalk it up to that. Let's move on to Houston. That's a little bit better one. Tom, what do you got on Houston?
Yeah, coming off of a game where Devin Vassell called but said basically we don't want to be looked at as a team that's soft. Nobody wants to be looked at as a team that's soft. We need to stop being soft. And in the first quarter, especially against the Houston Rockets in Houston, they were soft, and the Rockets treated them like they were soft. Alperen Şengün was going right into Wemby's chest, putting him on the floor, uh, bullied his way to 14 first half points. Um, but it was Greg Popovich's 77th birthday, and after a disappointing forgot to stop ball layup for Reed Shepherd that put the Spurs down 16, Mitch Johnson called a frustrated timeout and probably yelled at his guys to try harder and do better, but also made a tactical switch that allowed that to happen. He, instead of letting Wemby pick up his fourth foul, banging with Sengun in the post, he said, okay, we're going to hit Shengun with the Uno reverse card and stick him with a guy who's smaller, with a lower center of gravity, who's just going to, maul him, right? And that guy was Steph Castle, and he did a tremendous job on Shengun. He did a tremendous job on Kevin Durant. And while he was doing that, Victor Wembanyama was guarding Amen Thompson from about 15 feet away. The Spurs won this game by asking the Houston Rockets a very simple question. The question was, can Amen Thompson hit a jump shot? Do I need to guard him outside of 5 feet from the basket? Do I have to act like he exists if he's not trying to dunk the ball? The answer was no, and it let Victor Wembanyama become a very fierce roamer that was basically shut off the paint for a Rockets team, deterred drives, and it turned this like whirring, blurring Rockets offense into just like stumbling through the mud. Um, they were super aggressive on the perimeter. They were super aggressive in the paint. It was awesome. A fun stat
Eldon
here.
Johnson had some of his boxing moves on Shengun too.
Oh
I don't
yeah.
know if y'all saw. If I rewatched the game actually yesterday, and just seeing one that change for Wemby was actually done before the half. I feel like there was a lot of discussion after it was like done at the 2.5 minute mark in the second quarter, but Keldon was just throwing, and it was just like kind of saw it again in the Charlotte game today, where the Spurs just kind of said they went OKC mode and said, "We'll see if you call every foul." Like 'cause he was mauling him. So sorry, Tom. What was the interesting
No,
stat from this game, though?
Keldon was, when Castle wasn't out there, Keldon was also doing a great job on Şengün and on Kevin Durant. So good shout on Keldon there. Deserves some credit. Um, After the defensive switch, Amen Thompson, 5 of 6 in the restricted area, and 1 of 10 outside it. He is the only Rocket that had more than 2 baskets in the entire second half. Şengün made a putback, 0 of 8 on the rest of his shots, which were all in the paint, non-restricted area, with Wemby lurking somewhere nearby. Kevin Durant, 2 of 6, no paint attempts in the second half. There was that one play that will live forever of Steph Castle picking him up and being inside of his jersey until he settled for like an elbow pull-up at the buzzer, and Wemby came by and obliterated that. It was awesome. It was really cool to watch Wemby and Castle, Fox, Kell, and Harper all attacking the paint, which had been a struggle for this team. So, one of the most impressive wins of the season, certainly in the non-Thunder category.
I'll say it was the most impressive win of the season. Like more impressive than those OKC wins
Really?
and the. Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, the stakes that they were playing at, in the sense of like getting more physical with them. Those OKC games, they already came out and were like punching them in the face, and like OKC wanted none of it. This one to be down by 16, fight your way back, for it to be essentially the opposite of the week before's game, where they did snatch victory out of the jaws of defeat for it. I have been thinking about this game, quite a bit. I think a lot of Spurs fans have up in. I mean, there's been a lot of days in between games this week too, but I would say this was the most impressive win for the
Yeah,
team.
I agree. I agree. We'll go into a little later in the show about that second half and what it showed. Each one of y'all. I think that it was just a big win. They brought a lot of fight. So, but we'll move on to the Charlotte game here today.
Zach, sound a little more excited about the Charlotte game.
Nah, there's nothing for me to be excited
Kidding.
about. There's nothing to be excited about. It's like that Facebook meme where it's like smile and it's like what's there to be happy about. And so it was look, this Spurs team's had issues beating the Charlotte team. They've beaten us three times in a row. Now at it 4 times after today. A bad second quarter, boys. A bad second quarter really put the Spurs in a bind. They chased the whole second half. They got it within striking distance multiple times there in the second half. Credit to them for finding, we keep talking about resiliency. This team has shown multiple times throughout the season they are resilient. Just couldn't get over the hump. Dylan Harper was fantastic in that first half. He really kept the Spurs afloat. But I only want to give a shout out to a guy who really was a big winner, and the only reason the Hornets won today was Colin Sexton, who, fellas, I have a number here. Colin Sexton has played the Spurs 15 times in his career. How many times has he scored over 20 points against us?
Every time?
He scored over 10 times. 10 times out of the 15. 10 out of the 15
Good
times.
score,
Yeah.
man.
He is
But definitely on that
he's
list.
on the list. Put him on the list. He is a Spurs killer. I don't know what happened in the draft workouts in San Antonio. I don't know what happened, but he hates the Spurs.
Dude.
Hates them.
Those straight threes from the same wing
Yes.
spot on that right wing that he just buried. I was like, God
And
damn.
I gotta I look, we gave everyone high praise. We gave everyone high praise. Like we gotta call it what it is. You mentioned Wimby with the perimeter defense against the New Orleans Pelicans. It happened again there in the second quarter against the Hornets. They really exposed that. They really went after him, and I think that might have been one of his worst quarters I've seen him play in the NBA in quite some time.
I got an accountability buddy myself here, fellas. Last week I was like, oh yeah, I want to see more French vanilla lineups. And I still do, but man, I felt like I don't know, that was I felt like the wrong call on Mitch's part to go that at the end of the second quarter, because that's when I felt like things got out of
Really
hand.
quick,
And you got this just fast perimeter team that's moving. I thought Charlotte was entertaining as hell to watch, by the
they're
way.
not a bad basketball
Like
team
from an
at all.
offensive stand, 11 and
They're
1
not a bad
with
basketball
with
team.
that 11-1 with that starting lineup. And I just saw a Jeff McDonald post on Twitter that they're number one in point differential in the month of
Yeah, I mean they're
January.
like, look, and the Spurs played them.
So
The Spurs played them. Let me get one more thing, Tom, before I move on. Um, Man, second quarter, I want to ask you a question. How many shots did the Spurs make outside the restricted area? Zero. They made no shots outside the restricted area. So we will go into this. I have a little more on the second quarter here. If you just want me to get into it, AB, on this high to low praise.
Well, hold on, Tom, you have something?
just, I mean, the Hornets are super duper impressed. They're the hottest team in the league. This is their first 6 game winning streak in like a decade, uh, and they're playing awesome basketball. And I agree with you, AB, that the French vanilla against a team where you got Brandon Miller at the four, just like hitting everything with a fire hose, like
Yeah,
that did not work.
Everything at that point, hitting everything at that point, because
Yeah.
he ended up at 3 for 9 from three. And look, just like looking at the box score, I understand. Like we just got done watching the game. I'm just as frustrated as anyone else by it. And I'm looking at the stats on it, and just man, where let me pull it up here real quick. Yeah.
even.
Okay. Here's the difference in the game. 80 shots to 88 shots for the Hornets. 14 offensive rebounds to 6. We shot better from 3. We shot better in the paint. We had more rebounds. We had more blocks, had more steals, had less turnovers. It was literally just a possession game. And we've talked about this before. Like, this league, it's actually not about shooting, because what do you need to have before you shoot? The ball. Possession of the ball is more important. And, that's not to be like terribly reductive there, but like when you're getting beat on the offensive boards, they get 8 more shots than you. And what, we lost by 5 points, right? This game? I mean,
It's margins.
Al Pacino said it best: game of inches.
Yeah, and I do want to keep talking about this. Credit to the Spurs this season. They've been, we do mention high praise, and each week we talk about something that's really impressed you, something that's really caught your attention. And the one thing that's caught my attention this week is the fact that the Spurs have scored in the teens in 2 games this week in the second quarter. And I'll ask you a question, AB. I told you this. I'll actually ask Tom because AB, I told you before the show.
Yeah.
Tom, how many times this season has this team scored in the teens in a quarter? Any quarter. This is
Yeah, mute, Tom.
this is per me. This is per my research. How many times?
Give me 4.
3 times, and the 3 have been in the past week and a half
Yikes.
against the Rockets in the
Good
fourth
research
quarter.
there, Zachary.
In the Rockets against the fourth quarter, they scored 14, and against the New Orleans Pelicans in the second quarter, they scored 19, and then here in the second quarter against the Hornets, 17. I don't know what it is, and it's indicative when they don't hit threes. They hit 0 threes in the fourth quarter against the Rockets. They hit 0 threes in the second quarter against the Hornets today, and so it's a make or miss league, of course, fellas. I'm not going to sit here and say
Yeah.
that I expect them to make 100% of their shots, and the shots were good today. They didn't have any.
I was gonna say, I don't think they were chucking today.
No,
I think they were good looks. It's just like, hey, Devin Vassell, the corner is not your shot. You are the wing three maker. Like, Julian Champagny gets to have diversity of his 3 points between the corner and the wing. Harrison Barnes, he had a wing three in this game. He also had a corner one. Devin Vassell, I've seen him. I mean, he's only played the last 2 games and everything, but or no, 3. He came back in the New Orleans game, of course. But like that corner three with him, with the way he shoots it, I don't know. I just think like he needs a little more distance for himself on that. So
And so I think that's
That
just. Oh, sorry, Tom. I just want to finish it up. It's just like that's the one thing that has caught my eye. They are a top 5 second quarter point scoring team. That is where we've watched this team for half the season, and they go on these nuclear runs in the final 3 minutes of these second quarters where they blow a lead up from 8 to 16 to have multiple times, and you're like, ooh, here we go, and they come out in the third quarter like, who is this basketball team? Well, it's happening in the second quarter this week, and they've actually recovered well in the second half of these basketball games. But look, that's just kind of worrying me right now, and hopefully it's just a short-term trend.
Tom, you got anything?
I don't think anymore. It went away.
Okay. Well, we were that's technically the beginning of the high praise segment. We started with a little bit of low praise or concerning, concerns on Zach's end. Um,
I actually I was thinking about this. I was brainstorming this.
okay.
Uh, so instead of high praise, we can do blunt criticism.
Big blunt criticism, if you know my Xbox name.
There you go. Um, but yeah, so some blunt criticism from Zach Montana. You got some high praise though, Aaron Blackerby.
Yeah, look, I want to zoom out and I want to give high praise to Victor Wembanyama's first 150 games in the league because I do think when we look back at this, you're kind of like, oh, and that's pretty impressive. And this is only his 3rd year in the league, and look, we follow this team really intently, and I think especially being sickos, sometimes we get away from looking at the 7-5 man because everybody can see the 7-5 man. But in this instance, this is really impressive. I hope people can hopefully take this and go like, oh, maybe we are actually still on the right track, like down the line. Usually takes 7 to 8 years for a player to win a championship in the NBA. So in year 3, check this out, y'all. First 150 games. Wemby has more points than Kevin Durant in his first 150 games. KD had 3,420. Wemby has 3,440 points. Wemby has more rebounds than the round mound of rebound. Charles Barkley had 1,509 rebounds. Wemby has 1,631 more rebounds than Charles Barkley did in his first 150 games. In their first 150 games, Wemby has more assists than the greatest passing big man of all time, Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic in his first 150 games had 533 assists. Wemby has 534. Oh, do you guys want some more of this? Wemby has more steals in 150 games than Kobe Bryant did. Kobe Bryant had 144. Wemby has 168. I still am not done, by the way. All right. Now, who has more blocks in their first 150 games? Hakeem Olajuwon or Victor Wembanyama? I'm
I
going to
know
cut
this
you off
one.
real
I know
quick.
this
Yeah,
one.
it's Victor Wembanyama. Hakeem Olajuwon had 448 blocks in his first 150 games. Wemby has 520. And last one. And to all my compact kings out there on the pickup runs that are shooting threes and doing the night night celebration, you're going to love this one. Steph Curry, in his first 150 games, had 307 three pointers made. Victor Wembanyama has 330. Fellas, I know January has been tough. December was crazy. This year, the team has been exceeding all expectations because of one, the centerpiece of this team, Victor Wembanyama. So Look, I want to give a real high praise shout out to him. And also, I got all of that off of Bleacher Report, by the way. They were the one who put it together, and I saw it, and I was just like, holy shit. Like, this needs
Yeah,
to be discussed.
but in fairness, Aaron, I mean, they're so cherry picking there. They're like, oh, who's like notably one of the greatest ever at doing that one thing? And then they check, and Wemby's got better stats than him in the first 150 games. It seems a little, it's crazy. It's nuts to do. It's like it's whatever the opposite of like he's it's the give me tougher battles thing. Like what can't he do better than the best person to ever do it? Um, Wild, truly nuts.
Yeah, I mean, just think about that, Spurs fans. We try to be like a safe space here. We try to be, a place for these things. Like, woosah, it's okay. We're doing better. It's been cold. I get that. I'm ornery. I'm with y'all. I'm with y'all. And also, there's good things coming. There's good things happening. Both things can be true.
I've
Tom, what do
got
you got?
I've got some high praise, and like you, I'm zooming out a little bit, which I think is important sometimes with high praise. Um, and I'm going to give some high praise to a couple of guys who, uh, you know, have seen their roles reduced most recently today, but have been really professional contributors in their time in San Antonio, and that's Harrison Barnes and Jeremy Sohan. Both voted most likely to use the exercise bike during the game. Um, these are guys who, um, I mean, Harrison Barnes, since he came over to the Spurs for nothing, essentially for the Spurs assisting as a bookkeeping transaction, he's started every single game. He's played every single game. He has been in a locker room with very little postseason experience. He's an Olympic gold medalist, an NBA champion with one of the greatest teams to ever do it. Um, and he has brought that professionalism each and every day in San Antonio. Um, I'm not sure if there's a long term plan for I would doubt that he's in sort of the long term plans for this San Antonio team, but I also think that they would love to have him along for the ride, through the end of this season because of all of the things that he brings. Um, and Jeremy Sohan is a guy who's been asked to do literally everything for this team, um, and has we've gotten to see him grow as a player in person here, and been really cool. Not sure what the future holds for either of those guys, but have loved their time in San Antonio.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, Zach, you had an interesting question. I wish we could have further elaborated on it with a win, but I do still think it's indicative of some changes overall for the team. So why don't you take it away with our first question for the week?
I mean, y'all touched on it when y'all talked about the Spurs versus Houston game, about what y'all saw. What kind of growth did you see from this team in the second half of that Houston game? And if you don't mind, I can kick us off, or y'all can go and I can finish it. Doesn't really matter to me.
I'll kick us off first here. And look, I'll just say this: like, despite this loss from the Hornets, I saw a lot of physicality in this game. Um, I do think sometimes there's just like times where shots don't come in, but man, Devin Vassell and De'Aaron Fox, which are not typically people that we bring up as far as like physical defenders. Usually we are talking about Stephon Castle, typically in that type of role. Thought Julian Champagny did a great job on Conca as well. But I saw a lot of I'll say it again, OKC like defense of we will stretch the bounds of when you will call a foul in that game. And they did the same thing in Houston, just upping their physicality in that game. Um, there's to that. The second part of it is I think the Houston game was a bit indicative of Harrison Barnes coming off the bench today. And maybe for me, my theme is going to be it was a game of inches with, shout out Al Pacino, one of our greatest actors of all time. But what I mean by a game of inches here is that the starting lineup change. My hypothesis is that it was indicative of what happened in Houston and creating more space for De'Aaron Fox and Stephon Castle to get downhill. Putting Julian Champagny, who is shooting better from three, and Devin Vassell, who can get a bucket basically anywhere on the court as a three-level scorer, gives Wemby more operating room. And when I say, once again, a game of inches, what that means is that that player that's guarding these guys has to either step out or step in just a little bit more. And that timing is really important. And so I think from seeing that physicality in the Houston game, the way they came back, the way that essentially, remember, in the Houston game, they scored 72 points in the paint in that game. They didn't win that game from 3-point
No,
shooting. They shot like under
right.
25% in that Houston game. So what that tells me is that the lineups need to create space for the paint. They need to have shooting involved with them. And so that's what I take away biggest from it. And that's where I think there's kind of these cascading effects between the starting lineup, as well as just physicality that was brought from that game. And I thought it carried over into Charlotte.
Have y'all when y'all have a puppy, like you remember the first time your puppy like found its voice barked? You're like, oh, look at that. Like finally, like, oh, and it's like kind of weak, but then it gets a little louder and they start figuring it out. There was a play there in that second half. Spurs are down 6. Dylan Harper gets a rebound, pushes the break, goes up and under on Kevin Durant, looks at him. I love Dylan Harper's little like flex. He has no muscle flexing, but he just like his shoulders are all tight. He's like, and it's like, and so he did it. I was like, okay. But there in that first half, Wemby was going to the free throw line. Tari Eason was talking shit to him. You could tell Wemby was kind of, all right. And that's kind of the first time I've seen Wemby kind of John. Then he dunks over Amin Thompson. And then there is a play, I don't know if y'all caught it, timeout. They're running a play off the sideline, and Wemby is clearly talking to Tari Eason. They're chatting, they're talking shit to each other. There in that second half, Steph Castle gets an and one. And one. Everyone's getting pumped up. KD gets and Wemby gets and one on KD. Everyone's flexing. There's 8 minutes to go in the game. You're like, hold on, fellas. Like, let's not blow our load. Let's relax. No. They needed that. That was something they needed to feel against this Rocket team. OKC, they've beaten this OKC team before. Steph Castle had great games against OKC in the previous season. It's not anything new to this team. This Rockets team has had their number, had Wemby's number, had these guys kind of in a chokehold here in these games when you play. You know you're getting a slug. You know you're going to get in a slug match. And that game at the beginning of the season, yes, the Spurs came back and won. Spurs bullied the Rockets. I feel like bullying them on their own home court means a lot more than doing it at home. Doing it on the road, you got no one on your back. It's just you and your boys. I loved what I saw. They found their voice, they found a spine, and they really stood on it.
Yeah, I think they had some couple jackals present down out in Houston. There were some MVP chants on the road for Victor Wembanyama at the free throw line. Something he's told the press that he doesn't mind, and talked to the jackals about the physicality, the you know the that sort of edge to the play, which I think we've seen. We saw it in the Charlotte game. It was just uh, Mitch Johnson said we got great shots. They made some crazy stuff, and they played in a similar fashion, right? But I think the thing that won them the game in Houston and lost them the game in Charlotte is the patience, right? And it's something that we've talked about, and that the team has talked about a lot. Whether they're up big or down big, or it's a tight game, the situation doesn't seem to matter. The constant is that this team will speed themselves up unnecessarily sometimes, right? And at halftime, the Amazon Prime broadcast, I was like, I hope they got this on in the locker room right now because they're breaking it all down. They'd freeze it, and it would be a guy putting up a shot with 17 seconds left in the shot clock, and no passes made on the possession, right? And we know how dangerous this Spurs offense can be when they are making the defense work. And if you're not making the defense work, you're bailing them out. The Spurs uh, made Houston's defense work down the stretch and spread it out and scrambled it. And against the Hornets, they were rushing, for a lot of this, down to the last shot for Victor Wembanyama where he chucked a three. I get it 2 for 1. It got a little late for 2 for 1. It didn't work. It wasn't a great shot, right? But
Especially when you haven't made
really,
shots all game.
right. And really, it was
Yeah.
before that. I don't hate that shot as much as I hate the shots that came way before it in the game that were not in the flow of the game, that were given to them but not really earned, and just not the kind of defense you want your not the kind of offense you want your team playing.
Well, there was two
So
sloppy defensive possessions there in the final 2 minutes as well, where they let a backdoor cut from Miles Bridges and they left Grant Williams wide open for three, and they let Miles Bridges get backdoor again. And you're like, what are we doing?
And fuck Miles
I
Bridges.
mean,
Like
I do
just
not like losing to that abuser man. Um,
yeah.
but
Um you guys
one last thing I got to say about the Hornets: top 5 jersey and court matchup of the year, easily. I love that. I love their kits.
they kind of played up to their jerseys. I thought they did genuinely play such a fun game of basketball, especially on offense. Like, I hope they get more nationally televised games. I'd love to watch them more.
I hope
Incredibly
they pass the
entertaining.
Hawks in the standings.
they will.
That
Don't
too.
worry, they will box your
Um,
ass.
Look, let's get into our slop now. NBA trade deadline is going to be next Thursday. Is that right, fellas?
The fifth.
February 5th, yeah.
Yeah, so next Thursday.
February 5th. Yeah, next Thursday. According to Mark Stein, the Spurs have generously told Jeremy Sohan and his camp they can look for a new place. So, look, we are fans of role play here. And
Easy, buddy.
and with that being said, I want you guys to be heading Jeremy Sohan's camp. Tom, I'm going to let you go first, but I want you to only answer this with I'll give you two
Yeah, not
teams
your whole list, bud. We'll be here all day.
Right.
As
Well,
Tom put every team in the NBA
I
on
did.
his
Well, no,
list.
that's not true. The Spurs are not included. It's 29 teams, and I put them in
Thank
5
you.
buckets. The please don't send
Okay,
me here
I
tier, the Spurs would never do it tier, and the no fit tier. But there are
Tom,
teams.
just the top two for you that you think would be good.
I like the way that he would fit, for example, with the Wizards, right? Who are building around Trey Young now. That's the kind of player that I think he would play well off of in an offensive system. He's a guy who can bring some defense, right? There's also some reporting, I believe it was Michael Scotto of Hoops Hype had it, that Phoenix is interested
Yeah, that dropped this morning.
and is potentially willing to part with Nick Richards, who's like the 4th center on their roster now, to make that happen, which is an interesting trade for the Spurs and also puts Sohan similarly with an outside shooting threat like Devin Booker on a team that has a little bit more of an ability to compete right now.
Yeah. What do you got, Zach?
Jeremy needs to be on a team that is still trying to develop themselves because I think himself he is still in that trying to figure out his role, what fits best for him. He needs minutes, he needs time out on the court. These sporadic minutes aren't going to do him any well, and I think the Spurs are understanding that. Jeremy's understanding that playing 8 minutes a game every other night, every 4 nights, isn't going to help him grow as a player. I think the Spurs team has gotten like exponentially better over the last few years, pretty quickly, and unfortunately for Jeremy, it's just the way it's worked with this roster. And I need a team.
But you're
I know.
heading his camp.
So I
What
need him
team?
on a team that's going to help him develop, that's going to help him get minutes. It can't be a team that's going to be good next year I think Tom hit the nail. I think
Which
Washington. I'm going to stick with Washington because I think that's a great pick for him. And like, I'm not going to try to find a new team. I think that makes the most sense. Washington are a team out east that's
interesting.
like Brooklyn, a team that he's going to be able to get the ball in his hands a lot and just be able to operate and just be able to be free.
Man, interesting. I think the Pacers, personally, I think they play a fast style that Jeremy could thrive in. He's known for cutting towards space, being really naturally gifted at that. You give him the rest of the season with that team that is in the bottom of the league right now. He gets plenty of time to put plenty of tape out there, whether it's for with the Pacers or it's for his restricted free agency. And if they really like what they see, you're under Rick Carlisle. He's one of the best coaches in the league in developing players. Um, you have him out there with that team. And if the Pacers really like him, you bring him back next year with Tyrese Halliburton, and that team's ready to go up and down the court. His hair is already, kind of dyed that yellow. I think it's a pretty good fit with the Pacers. Like and checking all those boxes from development and also just giving yourself playing time in currently not like a high leverage situation.
It's also something
So
that the Pacers might be interested in. There's some pieces that they have that the Spurs could use, right? And then they cut some salary this year with Halliburton's injury, knowing that they were going for a gap year. Didn't work out for them the way it has worked out for the Celtics, but Sohan's restricted free agency rights may be valuable to a team like the Pacers that could see a pathway for him to be part of their core, you know, more long term. And again, outside scoring threat in Tyrese Halliburton.
yeah, I mean he's not. He's probably going to make maybe 10 million if he puts some good tape in. I remember last summer or in the offseason, like, could Jeremy get 20? He's like he's not getting 20. Not in like this kind of NBA
Nope.
economy. Um. All right, this one's from Tom. You want to lead this pick off or this question off, Tom?
Sure, and I think it's an even more pertinent question given the decision to bench Harrison Barnes less than a week until the trade deadline. Because Harrison Barnes has a $19 million expiring contract. It is the single biggest expiring contract that the Spurs have on their books. It is a piece that would be necessary if the Spurs are trying to trade for a large salary. I'm talking like in excess of $30 million. Um, it doesn't seem like the Spurs still, even with as successful as they've been, would disrupt their long-term flexibility or their core to make a big move right now, right? But they can create pretty much $40 million in outgoing expiring salary with Barnes, Olenek, and Sohan together. They have a bunch of picks. They could do a move. They could go for a guy. They could take those three, fours essentially, smack them together, add some picks, and go out and get somebody, right? Whether that makes sense to do cap sheet wise at this point, I lean toward no, but I believe that the Spurs are keeping all of their options open. So, who are some guys who you think the Spurs could go after if they're going, for a consolidation move like that? Big game hunting. Aaron, what are you thinking?
Probably isn't as big game hunting, but I'm thinking about a player that fits a lot of the profile, I think, of what the Spurs would want. And I think it is still leaning on defense. And my player is the great barrier thief, Dyson Daniels. He's on a 4 year, 100 million contract, 25 million a year. Um, Look, that Hawks pick, maybe it's there, maybe it's not. Look, we obviously saw lottery luck this last year. Um, but the question is also like, do the Spurs need to keep being younger? Regardless of what happens this season, it's like it's not rookie contracts are valuable, but like at this point, it's like the timeline has been pushed up. he's not having the greatest year. And so I kind of remember a conversation we had a year ago with friend of the show, Brandon James, talking about distressed assets. And I'd say Dyson Daniels right now is a distressed asset with the Hawks and how they're wanting to build around Jalen Johnson. Um, Maybe they're not sure, you know, how his long term fit is, but we've seen that he can play in the league. He's a really interesting player. He's at 6'7", really long. Um, yeah, I'm going to give Dyson Daniels as kind of the stretch idea. Um, I'm sure I'll have someone in the comments tell me cap wise why that's not possible, and that's okay. Please educate me. I do not understand the CBA still. So,
Can I tell
uh,
you right now before the comments come in? I'm kidding, but also kind of serious. Um, I There's value for the Spurs in having room on their books, right?
totally.
Especially as next year De'Aaron Fox's max extension kicks in. The year after that, it will be Wembanyama's. The year after that, Castle's extension will kick in, and then the year after that, Harper's will. So taking on a long-term contract, I don't think it's something that the Spurs would do without a like slam dunk. This is our guy. This is a core piece type of player, right? I'm not saying that guy isn't out there, right? A name that we've seen attached to the Spurs as like they could be in the mix for him is Trey Murphy, right? Or Herb Jones from the Pelicans, and both allegedly untouchable for a West Worst Pelicans team. But you know, Trey Murphy's a hell of a player, great shooter. He would be like as a four, purely basketball wise, next to Victor Wembanyama and all of those slashing guards. Love it. But you know, it may be too early in Wemby's ascent to commit to a move like that when you've got all of those other things that you know are coming financially. Another guy that is kind of interesting that I don't see getting talked about as much, but like given the Giannis of it all, and the idea that if he goes to the Knicks, there's probably going to be a need for a third team to send picks to Milwaukee. Uh, if OG Anunoby shakes loose, I think he would be a really interesting basketball fit, and that would be a three-teamer, maybe four-teamer with picks going to Milwaukee and nobody going to
They've
the Spurs.
they've had their eye on him for a long time. They originally wanted him in the Kawhi Leonard trade, and the Raptors at the time were not, willing to part with him. So I do think that's a really interesting fit there. What
Yeah,
are you going to say, Zach?
After that game against the Jazz 2 weeks ago, it's Laurie marketing. I mean, that's the ideal prize, big fish, big game hunting. Put him on the wall, show him off next to Wimby. There's that guy can hoop. That guy can absolutely get after you on the both ends of the floor, offensively, defensively. That's the twin tower setup that you're looking for. If you're looking to put a twin tower label on a player sitting next to Wimby and those two guys start next to each other, it's that guy. It's if you want to get rid of 2 picks, 3 picks, because we know that Hawks pick is going to be valuable this year. Hawks don't care about their pick because they have New Orleans pick. They couldn't care less about their pick because New Orleans is just as bad as is even worse than they are. So they know their chances of them having a good pick is going to be up there. So that is also, we got to take that into account. That pick in March and April, you're going to be like, holy, that's going to have some value to it. Right now, it's teetering, but give it a month. Team's losing, it'll bounce. You're like, okay. So that's your guy. If you're going to use that pick on anything, you don't give it back to the Hawks. You don't give it to Utah and say you deal with it. You can have that young piece and add it to your young core that you already are clearly looking to do that. You're looking to move to that direction. You have a bunch of young talent on that team. They're a very young, talented team. So to add another 2, 3 picks that they're gonna, they have a swap pick with Boston until 2028. The Spurs do. They have this swap pick with, they have these opportunities to get rid of good picks and keep their own pick. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. What do you guys think now is like a more realistic player to go after?
Well, I'll start off with
What?
more of the boring one.
Yeah,
Gary Trent Jr. If we're looking for a guy who can space the floor and shoot, shot 38, 39, and 40% over the last 3 years. This year he's fallen off a little bit. We've seen him make big shots in playoffs when he was on the Raptors. So to act like this guy can't play is wrong. He can shoot the three, and I think if anything makes his team better, it's more space for Wemby to operate and the team better shooting. So Gary Trent Jr.
well, he's on the Bucks, right?
Now he's on the
So that
Bucks.
team's kind of
Yeah.
been a
Uh-huh.
disaster, especially with Giannis being out, and so it's kind of like shooting's dropped off because their spacing's not
Or
there.
if like you're really not like as locked in as you normally would be on a winning team. So I get it all.
Sure. What do you got, Tom?
Yesterday, I wrote a story about the idea of Anthony Simons with a lot of interesting cap implications for the Celtics. Again, expiring salary, so no long term commitment, but could help the Spurs with some of the spacing that they've struggled with. I think that's a really interesting one. My friend Paul Garcia mentioned Sadiq Bey, perhaps a more reasonable target out of the Pelicans, a guy who I've loved since his Villanova days. Um, and because we're talking Bucks, how about Ryan Rollins if Milwaukee does trade Giannis and blows it up? Also like Luke Kennard and a couple guys out of the Pacers.
Yeah. I'm gonna put Crazy Eyes himself, Bobby Portis,
Let's go.
out there.
Easy.
Um, Look, if I think a lot of times that we have been asking, like, can we get an enforcer for Wemby? And when we've talked earlier this season too about all this team needs is actualize Jeremy Sohan. Actualize Jeremy Sohan as Bobby Portis, actually. Still a shit starter, will protect your team, hell of a teammate, played in the finals, can show up in big games, isn't going to take nothing from people, and will be ready to play physical with them. Um, I think that could be like a more realistic trade target. I mean, the funny thing, once again, that's looming over all of this, whether it actually happens or not, is Giannis Antetokounmpo. You know, is he going to go anywhere? Is he not? And kind of figuring that out. So we'll see. The Harrison Barnes off the bench was really interesting today. Jeremy Sohan, being benched basically until February 5th. Interesting times. So we'll see what happens in the next few days. But let's jump now, fellas. Got another interesting week of games, and here's what I'm going to say is interesting about this week of games. Got a game tomorrow against New Orleans, second night of a back to back for the Spurs. The next day,
You say New
the
Orleans or
Orlando
Orlando?
Magic,
Okay.
Orlando Magic. The next day, the Orlando Magic go to OKC to play their second night of a back to back. Then OKC comes to San Antonio to play their second night of a back to back. Then the Spurs go to Dallas to play their second night of a back to back. So Adam Silver, bro, just I know you're not going to shorten this season, but let's stretch it out, man. This is so terrible. Um,
Well, they had to move the
but
game up
well,
today because there was a snowstorm and they played at 3 o'clock tomorrow. So it's like they're either gonna get stuck in
well,
Orlando, stuck in Charlotte.
A- A- Adam Silver cannot account for God, as far as I know. But you know, uh, but that being said, this amount of back to backs during this kind of slog of the season is just it's not great. That being said, let's just talk about the Magic right now. I believe they're 5-5 in their last 10 games. Not sure at the moment if Franz Wagner is going to be playing. They've been a really interesting team all season in the fact that like when Paolo plays, they like Paolo and Franz are supposed to be the core of this team, and they don't actually play that well when they're on the court together. That's a problem. Then they have this other guy, Anthony Black, who used to have this awesome, huge afro, who is balling out right now. And that's who I'm particularly worried about in this game against them. But here's the thing Zach's favorite phrase on the team. We need to get our lick back, and we did. First game did spawn the cornet pose, but what I mean lick back, I mean our 3-point shooting. They give up the most 3-pointers attempted and the third most made in the league, according to StatMuse. If there was ever a time for Julian Champagny, Devin Vassell, Harrison Barnes, Stephon Castle, come around. Dylan Harper, you knocked down some threes earlier today. Get your shots off on this one. What do you guys got on the Magic?
You mentioned Anthony Black. I want to give a quick shout out to friend of the show, Martin Cody, who that is his cousin. Small world in San Antonio. So yeah, and his dad actually coached Peavy, who's the coach at Duncanville, was actually taught me how to play basketball. He was the assistant coach at Alma Heights, the coach Bogus. So that's a small world, how it all comes back around. So
So you are Anthony Black's second basketball cousin, twice removed.
sure, we can put that way. That's allowed.
Perfect.
Well,
Okay,
if
that's
that's the way
great.
you want to spin it, well, but this Magic team, as you said, they are very 500-ish. Look at their schedule. They win 2 games, they lose 2 games. They win 3 games, they lose 3 games. This schedule or their record just fluctuates within like two wins over 500 to 500, 2 wins over 500 to 500. They're very just a balanced team. They want you to shoot from outside. So as you said, AB, I need a lot of threes put up. I need to get yourself in a rhythm. You're gonna know you're gonna get some shots. They hit shots tonight too, besides that second quarter. So to sit there and say they shot poorly is not a good way to look at it. But this is I'll look at it as a different lick back, AB. They need to get their lick back because they lost today. And you can't lose back-to-back games in the Western Conference. You just cannot do it. You cannot. And this is the first week that they have been under 500 this whole season. If they don't win tomorrow. So
Officially dropped to third in the West.
right, so you cannot mess around with these games and be like, "Oh, no. You got to win these games." And that's what and this is a pressure that comes with being the second seed, the third seed, and putting yourself up there. And I'm glad that they're getting a feel for this early in the season or midway through the season. I got to figure out how to keep people off your back, keep distance, win these games that matter when they don't technically matter because it's January, but they matter.
What do you got, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, Anthony Black has been so good for the Magic this year. Desmond Bain, who I think is sort of like almost a cautionary tale of like, you probably don't want to trade like a, a literal handful of picks uh, for a 3-and-D guy. But he can get hot. I mean, the other night he was absolutely
I think he had
unbelievable.
32 points
Yeah.
last night. Yeah,
He's one of
or
those
two
guys
nights
who
ago.
can get hot from
And he will
outside,
fight you.
and yeah, scrappy fella. So he's somebody you got to keep an eye on. I'm interested to see, right, because there are some shooting liabilities on their roster. I'm interested to see if they employ a similar defensive tactic that they used against the Rockets in that game, and really work to clog the paint. But should be a good show.
Should be a good one. It's going to be a matinee, and then oh boy, Thunder coming to San Antonio, and I have a feeling the Frostbank Center is going to be lit. I think it's going to be pretty rowdy for that game. Zach's already telling me it's an 8:30 start. There is plenty of time to drink, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, Plenty of time to get over to that concourse and hear whatever cover band they got going for you. They're probably going to have a fireplace going. I will say, guys, the problem with getting your lick back in the middle of while there's a cold front going on is your tongue could get stuck. I've seen the Christmas
You
story.
have.
I know.
Well, I hope so because they had it on
Um,
run for 24 hours.
yeah, USA Network, do better or don't. I don't know. I'm not watching you. I don't care. Um, Look, I'm going to say this. This is an important game.
Okay.
This one is important. I'll tell you why. No one has beaten the Oklahoma City Thunder 4 times in the last 2 seasons. No one beat them in the playoffs 4 times. This is important for the Spurs' mental fortitude to get there. I think there's going to be some interesting um, injuries for the Thunder with this. Jalen Williams looks like he will still be out by this point. Said he was going to be reevaluated for the hamstring in 2 weeks. Um, Alex Caruso, though, and AJ Mitchell, two people who torched us in the last game in OKC, looking like they are dealing with some nagging injuries. Specifically, Caruso also has an abductor strain, so it's kind of hit or miss or for where that's going to be. Regardless, get up for this one. What do you guys got?
AB, you may not watch USA Network, but I used to. So I'm gonna try to incorporate as many names of my favorite USA Network shows into my answer as possible. I'm just kidding. That would be ridiculous. Psych.
SVU,
I'm gonna do
SVU.
it. We're starting with that one. Uh,
SVU was on USA.
Reruns.
It's a part of the Peacock
It's
network.
reruns,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Well, no, Peacock
okay.
is
The
USA.
uh, the
Peacock
the
is USA. They're
these
together.
I thought you were going to be like the suits of Sam Presti in the OKC front office
Oh, I'm
have.
gonna go. I'm gonna start with. There's a burn notice on
Oh,
Chet Holmgren.
golly.
How will you respond, Chethu? This Spurs team does not respect you as a rim protector, and will likely do everything they can to go right at you. Wembanyama, monk-like, right? In his patience, he's got to be firm and strong and full of mental fortitude. And let's see what else. Um,
Fawn
this
Castle's got to be bring the Franklin and Bash. I know that's a
this
TNT
is
property, but still.
this is a real. It's not going to be a white collar game,
Oh, here we
right?
go.
Let's go. That was good.
Any special victims unit? Is there
Okay.
going to be a
Characters
special?
welcome.
Is Chet going to be on the special victims unit?
I'm glad you said special victims. Yeah. Zach, you got anything on this one?
We doing this shit again, man. We already won the season series. Tell them boys to pack it up. We'll see them in the playoffs.
Oh man, it's important. Don't blow this off. You just said games
They
now
do
are
matter. They do
important, you
matter.
Right. We
They
know?
can't
do
we can't
matter.
overlook inferior opponents like the Oklahoma City
That's
Thunder like
fair.
that.
That's fair. That's fair. These are the ones that matter. These are the ones that bit the Spurs in the ass in the past few years. You got to win the ones that you're supposed to win.
Well then, fellas, we'll move on to Dallas, which I'm not sure. We'll talk scheduling and everything next week. There's a Super Bowl coming
There
up
is.
and things of that nature. But the Spurs will go to Dallas the next game, the next day, and take on Cooper Flag and company. Um, this is a better Mavs team than what we first saw at the beginning of the year. I don't know if you guys at least saw the highlights between Cooper Flag and Concanipple the other night, but that was an electric game. 49 points from Cooper Flag in that game. And right now, according to Kirk Goldsberry's efficiency landscape in the last 10 games, Dallas Mavericks has a better offense than the Spurs. We have a better defense, though. Um, I expect though. Look, the Spurs today held Concanipple to 13 points. That's 7 points less than like his season average. I'm kind of expecting the same thing that they're going to go after Cooper Flag in this one. What do you guys got?
Another battle. If they win both these games, another opportunity to, or they will win the season series against Dallas. So we'll have one check on the battle of Texas. The fight for Texas is already halfway done. So that's what I want. I want to see a look. You hit the nail on the head. Every game matters from here on out. So I guess they got to be undefeated, or I'm going to be disappointed the rest of the season. So that's the way it's going to be. Set myself
High
up for a
stakes.
disaster.
I think that Steph Castle versus Cooper Flag is a matchup that I'm excited to watch in this game. Speaking of Cooper Flag, who yes had 49 points, did you guys happen to see the still image of Caleb Martin soaring through the air about 10 feet
He
from
jumped
the
from the
basket
3-point
with
line.
crazy with Flag right under the basket? And that was when he had 49. That wasn't
Yeah.
just like in the flow of the game. Insane move. have to respect it. It was awesome.
He literally jumped from
He
the free throw line.
he jumped from as far away as Lonnie Walker did that one time, right?
There was
Incredible,
no reason
incredible
for him to go over and
scenes.
try to dunk that ball.
He doesn't have one song where he's got to be doing all that. Uh, but this is going to be a fun game. I think. Ready for it.
I think it will be too. Well, like Zach said, first week of the season that the Spurs were under 500. They went 1-2. The loss is sandwiched by a really fun win. Also, shout out to Holdout Brewing. I checked out their NBA Nerd Night this Wednesday for that game. A lot of good Spurs fans there. Highly recommend checking it out. If you are not going to be at the OKC game in San Antonio, but you're a Spurs fan in Austin, go to Holdout. They're putting on Spurs games with Spurs fans and having the sound on. And the food's like really solid too. So I want to shout out them. I'm not getting paid for it, but Mark, you got a great thing
No
going on
free
there.
fucking ads, dude.
Well, that doesn't help. So, um,
Yeah, pay
all right,
us. if you're
all right,
watching this,
y'all.
pay us.
What do you got? What do you got for this upcoming week? Let's just say the first three games. We won't count like the back to back because Dallas will then come to San Antonio next Saturday. Let's just go Orlando, OKC, first Dallas game.
I'm I'm
3-0 a
Zach
game.
says
3-0 a
undefeated.
game. We're gonna fucking
Zach's
get our licks back, get right.
Zach, basically, when I asked this question the rest of the season, Zach is like, if you're undefeated, I'm disappointed.
I
So
have to
I could just fill out the
I have
from
to.
now until April,
Yeah.
Zach is just
Might as
like,
well just fill it out.
there's no losses,
3-0,
no losses,
4-0,
no
2-0. Just
losses.
put 0 in all my stuff.
I he's not crazy for saying it this week, as tough as some of these games are going to be. Because the Spurs seem to answer the mental test when it's posed directly, right? It's the sneaky ones that they struggle with. When they know, oh, it's gonna be a long week, that's when they sort of dig their heels in. So I would not be shocked at a 3-0 week. I think they'll probably lose either the Magic game or the Thunder game. I think they win the Thunder game and lose the Magic game. Is sort of where I'm at right now.
Crash out city on Twitter if that happens
It,
tomorrow.
So
it-
you're
yeah,
going,
it will be Crash
you're
Out
going
City if
two
that
and one.
happens. Yeah.
I'll be part of the crash out.
Okay, I'm gonna go 2-1, and I just say watch out for this Dallas team.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about crash out for fans. That one could be. Ugh, okay, let's just get them to the All Star game, fellas.
Yeah,
These guys need a
these boys need
break.
a
I think
break.
there's some
They
calibration
need a
needing to be
beach. They
done.
need a beach. They need a margarita. They need to relax.
Yeah.
Boat drinks, baby.
Hey, want to thank everyone for listening to this. I hope this can be a little bit more solace after an early morning game that was hoping to be better. With that being said, Zach, what do you got to tell people before signing off?
Boys, ladies, old people, young people. They can't lose a game the rest of the season or it's crash out. So that's what I'm telling people.
Perfect, Tom.
I have a slightly different take.
I hope people know I'm kidding, by
And
the way.
right.
No,
Maybe not.
no, no.
Yeah,
Can't
stand
can't
on
hear
business, as the
sarcasm over
kids
the
say.
audio.
Stand on business,
Stand
Zach.
on your
Sorry.
stand on your business, sir. Um, my mom and sister are coming to visit me when the Spurs are in Austin, right? And I said, yeah, you can come, but like that Saturday night, there's a Spurs game in Austin, and they're like, oh, okay. And I was kind of like, you want to come because they are the least sports ball people of all time. They're avid birders, right? And my mom hits me back. She's like, yeah, I'm looking at tickets. I'm like, what? She's like, I want to see the tall guy. And I think that is like, for me, that was one of the most meaningful Spurs moments of this week because I was like, whoa, like I've never been at a professional sports game with my mother. before. I'm pretty sure.
So let me
So-
interrupt you. I cannot wait to meet Mama Petrini, but I'm also going to make sure that y'all need to get like at least 10 pictures together at the game. You need to wear your suit. You need to be looking
yeah.
looking good.
Yeah, I'll dress it up.
Okay.
I'll dress it up real good.
All right.
But it's exciting times.
That's awesome.
Despite some recent struggles, it's very exciting times for your San Antonio Spurs.
Wemby is bringing more and more people together, not just basketball fans, but birders. You know,
Pterodactyl
maybe
wingspan,
He
baby.
just wants to take him on bird watching because he'll be able to see all the birds, no problem.
He would be a great birder.
I'm sure he is or will be. I don't know. Like, uh, look, everybody, stay warm. Please take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. It is just a lot going on. So I hope that people can come more to basketball as a place of solace and reprieve from everything that's going on in the world. And look, I just hope that we save more of the crash outs for the playoffs.
I gotta get warmed up for the playoffs. I haven't crashed out once this year.
Zach is in
let me just
postseason form.
Yeah.
last thing I'll say on this is like we've been in the doldrums for years, this team, you know, and which should tell us that winning was never as easy as that core made it look, and it's not easy in this day and age of the NBA. So appreciate the losses, appreciate the wins, and we'll see y'all next week. Go Spurs, go! Peace out.